Listen, in our lives, we're going to be put into situations that make us feel uncomfortable. Whether it's because of a decision that you made or whether it's because you're forced into a situation, there's going to be many times in our lives where we aren't comfortable with the situation that we're in. We don't like the cards that we were dealt. But it's not up to us, the cards that are dealt, but it's how you play the hand, which ultimately leads to how you develop as a man. I know a lot of times there's certain situations that we go through in life. Again, whether we make a decision and put ourselves in that situation because we think we're making a decision that's going to put us in a better spot, or we may be forced in that situation. And when you're young, you don't really understand why you may be going through certain things. For example, maybe when you're younger, your parents go through a divorce, there's a lot of chaos in your life. Or maybe you make a decision like I did to transfer high schools, which was a very tough thing for me to do. Being very close to my family, to going 4 hours away from them, living, in a dorm room with 400 boys basically in the mountains. It was something that was a lot different for me. Looking back, hindsight being 2020, it was a great decision because it enabled me to earn a full scholarship. But initially, when I first got there, while I was going through it, I dealt with a lot of back and forth in my mind. And so what I want to talk about in today's video is 1 Samuel chapter 3, because this is a boy who's basically serving God from a young age, and he has a great mentor at that time who's the high priest. His name's Eli. And as he gets older, what happens is God's calling out to him, and Samuel doesn't know because he's in bed sleeping. So he runs over to Eli and thinking that Eli's calling out to him, and Eli tells him, no, that wasn't me. So he goes back to bed. It happens a few more times, and Eli realizes that this is God calling out to Samuel. And he tells him that the next time God calls out for him, that he better respond. So Samuel goes back, he hears God call for him again, and immediately, obviously, he responds back. And what happens is that God shares a message with him that he's to share with Eli that isn't going to be the easiest thing. And again, this relates to our lives because there's going to be uncomfortable conversations that we need to have. There's going to be those uncomfortable situations that we're in. And we need to rely on God, much like how Samuel did here. So he questions God initially because of the message that God tells him that he needs to tell to Eli. And the message is about Eli and his family, because Eli has 2 sons who are priests, and they're corrupt. They're basically stealing from the church. And Eli knows about it, but he's not doing much about it to hold them accountable. And so God tells him that he needs to let Eli know that God is basically seeing this, and that there's going to be consequences basically to him and his family because of what's been going on. And so again, this is really where Samuel transitions from a boy to a man, because initially, again, he questions God, listen, this guy's been my mentor forever. How am I supposed to go to him, basically disrespecting him? And God tells him, listen, this is what you have to do. So Samuel goes back, he talks with Eli, and he's a little bit apprehensive when he goes to him. But Eli basically tells him to spit it out. And, ultimately he's going to have to accept what's said because it's a message from God. And so Samuel tells him what the message is. He basically tells him, listen, your family's going to deal with some serious consequences because your 2 sons are stealing from the church. And obviously that's probably hard to hear, but Eli doesn't really take that message negatively because he knows what's going on. He knows it's wrong. And so what happens, the people from Israel start to recognize that Samuel's chosen by God to be a leader and a messenger. And he goes on to do exactly that. And so the reason why I wanted to share this message with you guys is, again, really because we see it in our lives and it's hard to understand. Just like I'm sure it was hard for Samuel to understand, God's message. How am I supposed to go to a guy who was my mentor my entire life and basically disrespect him? And, there's going to be these uncomfortable conversations that we have, uncomfortable situations that we're in. But the bottom line is that when it's a message from God, and whatever it is that we're going through, again, you got to have your nose down and just grind through it, push through, and do the right thing. I hope that you guys found value in this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate your time.